Friend of mine had about 4 feet of cedar decking, 5.5 inches wide, and I thought it was just the right amount to make a birdhouse. I'm just using the free online version of SketchUp. Before we get started, pay special attention to the three axes in the center of the screen. Notice that in this current view, the red axis is going from left to right, the green is going from front to back, and the blue is the vertical axis. Let's use the rectangle tool to draw the base piece. We're going to start at the origin, so click on the origin and then bring the rectangle in the direction of where you want it drawn. Don't click. You will notice that as you drag, the size of the rectangle will be reflected in the lower right hand corner. To get a rectangle with an exact size, we clicked on the origin, we drag in the direction we want, and then we start immediately typing, and it'll show up in the dimensions box. In my case, I typed 3.5 inches, comma, 5.5 inches, and then hit enter. Alright, so that's pretty small, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I usually just use my trackpad for zooming and revolving, but there are also specific tools for rotating the view and panning as well. Alright, now we're going to use the tape measure tool, which is used to create guidelines. I know that the walls of my birdhouse are all going to be 1 inch thick. To build a 1 inch guideline from the base board, click on the side that you want to make the guideline parallel to, move in the direction you want the line to be, but don't click. Notice I'm moving it away from the side in the direction of the red arrow. Without having clicked yet, type the dimension you want and hit enter, in my case 1 inch. Now that we have these 1 inch guidelines all the way around, we can easily take the rectangle tool and then draw where the sides or walls of the birdhouse will go. Use the intersection points to get precise snapping of the corners for the rectangles. Alright, this is where things get fun and we get to see this really start to take shape. Use the push-pull tool to give these rectangles we've drawn a third dimension. In the case of the middle base board, it should just be 1 inch thick. So click on the face, pull it up, type your measurement of 1 inch, hit enter. Now here's some strange behavior. I tried to use the push-pull tool to build one of the sides. I try to pull it up past the height of the first board, but it won't let me go. So I just pull it up 1 inch, and then I'm going to pull it up and type in 5.25 inches and hit enter. This means the sides of my birdhouse are 6.25 inches tall. The front and back of my birdhouse are going to be 9 inches tall. So the front and back here, I'm clicking on the face, I'm pulling it up in the direction I want, I type 9 inches, I hit enter, but it's actually not going up to 9, it's going up and it's limited by the height apparently of the other sides. So I make it go up to the 6.25 of the other sides, and then I'm making them go up another 2.75 to get the full 9 inches. Alright, let's turn this around some so we can see the front. Now, before I bother to do my drawing in SketchUp, I always sketch it out on paper and try and figure out the dimensions in advance to make this whole process easier. So I already know that these boards are 5.5 inches thick, half of which is 2.75 inches. So I split the front face vertically in half with a guideline, and then I come down with another guideline from the top of the board down 2.75 inches. Now I can use the pencil tool to connect the intersection points of these guidelines to create the pieces that I'm going to remove from the front face. If you ever want to check your dimensions in your drawing, you can use the dimension tool. You click the line segment pull and it'll reveal the dimension. Now that those triangles are drawn, I can subtract them or remove them by using the push-pull tool. Push on the face until its thickness becomes 0. If it doesn't completely get erased, you may need to use the arrow tool to click on the remaining line segments and then delete them. Once you get done and no longer need your guidelines, you can click on the eyeglass drawer and click the Delete Guidelines button. To make the roof, we're going to use an additive approach. Click on the face where the roof should go and pull. Don't click. I want my roof to be 1 inch thick, so I'm going to type 1 inch and then hit enter. Next, I'm going to use the tape measure to draw a guideline for the roof line. Click on the side, pull it down, and this time I'm going to make a go until it intersects with that corner. Now use the pencil tool to actually draw the roof line. Now that we have that face drawn, we can pull it, and I want an overhang of a 1/2 inch. So I pull it out, type 0.5 inches, hit enter. Now let's rotate the view and pull the roof back all the way across the house. To do this, I see that I have a stray line, so I'm going to delete it. Now I need to draw the roof line again, so I'm going to make a guideline that's 1 inch from the top edge of the roof, which should also go through that intersection point. Draw the roof line, and now I can use the push-pull tool to pull the roof all the way across. I kind of do it in 2 steps. Pull it to the far edge, and then click and pull it again out another 1/2 inch for the overhang. I also want the bottom of the roof to overhang 1 inch, so I pull on that, type 1/2 inch, hit enter. To do the other piece of roofing, we can do something very similar. Now, I want this to be a wren or chickadee house, so I need to put a hole in here of about 1 inch. Use the tape measure tool to find the midpoint, and then another guideline up 6 inches or so to position the circle. The circle tool is similar to the others. Click where you want the center of the circle, pull it in a direction, type the radius, hit enter. Then use the push-pull tool to push in on the circle until it has a thickness of 0. And now it's complete. If you want, you can add dimensions so you can see exactly how large the pieces need to be to construct the birdhouse. Use the dimension tool, click on a line segment, pull out and click. It'll tell you the dimensions of that line segment. I mentioned that I always sketch these things out on paper first. I go through the effort of putting these into SketchUp because I get a better visual of what it's really going to look like, better than anything I can draw, and obviously the dimensions are going to be much more accurate as well.